This is KYW-TV, Philadelphia. This is the News Tonight with Beverly Williams. First weather with Craig Weber and Lou Tilley on sports. And now, the News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Beverly Williams. Our top story tonight, the incredible 1993 Phillies season has come to a dramatic end, and with it, hopes of winning the World Series have been scrapped. It was like a scene out of a movie. The Blue Jays were losing in the bottom of the ninth, but Joe Carter stepped up to the plate and nailed a game-winning home run. It's only the second time in history that the World Series was won on a home run, and the Toronto Blue Jays are the first back-to-back champions since 1977. Even though the Phillies lost, the city is still proud of its National League champions. KYW3's Carol Erickson was at the airport when the team came home.
Without belaboring the point, it went right out of the stadium and sent the Phillies home a day earlier than anyone here wanted to see them. The boys of Indian Summer jetted back to a homecoming crowd so small that airport officials were trying to beef it up at the last minute with broadcasts of the arrival time.
All season long, people cheering for the Phillies, and then all of a sudden now, just because they lost, nobody's here. I just think it's a shame.
Manager Jim Fergosi, first off the plane, led a subdued bunch of world-class athletes who had little to say, except for Larry Anderson's humorous spin on the obvious.
We're number 2.
Conspicuously absent from the plane and brief arrival ceremonies, Mitch Williams, who's received death threats for his last pitch.
He wasn't with the team. He flew immediately to Texas. He's pretty down, and scared.
That's a shame that somebody got to fly to a different place because they have fear of coming back to Philadelphia. Obviously, you aren't the ones that want to kill Mitch, so it's good to have you here. Thanks for everything.
It was fun, and I can't wait till next year, so we'll see you out at the stadium.
But within 10 minutes of landing, the players apparently couldn't wait to get on the buses, leave baseball behind temporarily, and end the 93 roller coaster. The official word on any official ceremony for the Phillies? Well, this may be it. Only 7 of the players live here in the off-season. The others will be long gone by Monday morning. Why not a big celebration?
Because they don't want it. The team doesn't want it, and the players don't want it.
It can't get much simpler. After a great season, the Phillies are out of here. Carol Erickson, The News Tonight.
In Toronto, the champs are celebrating their World Series victory. The triumphant Blue Jays entered the Sky Dome one by one during a procession of chauffeured cars. Over 60,000 fans were on hand to cheer them on. The back-to-back champions showcased their winning trophy. Most of the players were gracious winners, but pitcher Todd Stottlemyre had a message from Mayor Ed Rendell. Rendell reportedly bragged that he could hit one of Stottlemyre's best fastballs.
I got one message for the mayor of Philly, and I hope you're out there looking. You can kiss my ass.
Well, after the outspoken Blue Jays pitcher said he said, quote, "I guess I'll never play for the Phils." Coming up, complete post-game coverage of the series. Lou Tilley joins us in just a few minutes with First Sports. And in other news, plenty of people in Philadelphia had their eyes toward the skies this afternoon. It was a plane, 2 of them actually. 2 low-flying C-141 military planes circled the city side by side for about an hour today. KYW3 was besieged with calls from people wondering what they were doing. The planes were from McGuire Air Force Base. They were taking pictures of each other with the city as a backdrop. The FAA approved the flight pattern over the city. In Delaware County, a man accused of beating and locking his son in chains is scheduled to appear in court for a preliminary hearing on Thursday. 37-year-old Michael Halfpenny allegedly chained his son inside of this Clifton Heights home for 2 days. Lugging a 25-pound weight, the 15-year-old yesterday managed to drag himself, bruised and crying, to the police station located across the street from his home. He was released to his mother, who is divorced from the father. The father says that the boy had disciplinary problems. The final hurdle to labor peace has been cleared at the Inquirer and Daily News. Workers who assemble the paper in the mailroom and who drive the delivery trucks voted today to accept the contract tentatively agreed to 2 weeks ago. But many of them say they're still unhappy. There was even a move to start their own paper, but that idea was shot down. The governor's race in New Jersey is entering the home stretch. This morning, the candidates faced off in their third and final debate broadcast here on Channel 3. They fielded questions from KYW3's Larry Kane. The political punches were flying. New Jersey correspondent Dick Standish reports.
It was their last chance at each other face to face.
The governor has such great respect for the truth that he uses it so infrequently.
Punch and counter-punch.
Mrs. Whitman violated the federal election laws. This is not speculation. That's been already determined.
The governor arrived at Rockefeller Plaza with a fragile lead with just enough voters forgiving or forgetting his tax increases. Remember when blared out as Christy Whitman arrived. She hoped people would remember when he raised taxes. She went inside to question his integrity.
It's situations that he finds his administration in, with 2 grand juries investigating the administration, a Securities Exchange Commission investigating for bond dealing.
The grand jury is a heck of a word. What does that mean? What's going on here?
It doesn't mean anything in the sense that...
KYW3's Larry Kane pressed Florio, who said neither he nor his allies had been charged with anything, and it was Whitman who had a problem.
I mean, she is the one that's been found guilty of violating the law, of hiring illegal aliens.
Florio also said he has again talked to the Sixers about moving to a new South Jersey arena. Whitman favored attracting sports teams with tax breaks. It was tricky for both of them here in the studios. He had to be basically Gentleman Jim. Score, but not appear to be bullying her. She had to be, in essence, Lady Christine. Not shrill, not nagging, but strong enough to be governor.
This was truly a clash of ideals, of issues, and of personalities, and they had no problem with each other at the end. They knew it was business, and they took care of it.
As they left, they heard news of a fresh newspaper poll showing Whitman closing to just 5 points behind before the debate.
5 points within the statistical margin of error. I'm going to win this thing.
It's going to be a close, tight race. It'll be right down to the end.
Just 1 week out from Election Day, the Jersey brawl is tightening. Dick Standish, the News Tonight.
KYW3 will bring you complete coverage of the upcoming elections November 2nd with anchors Bruce Hamilton and Jennifer Ward and analysis by Larry Kane. In the nation, science is taking a dramatic step toward human reproduction. Researchers have discovered a way to split human embryos into identical twins and even triplets. The discovery was made as researchers were trying to create more embryos for in vitro fertilization. The new cloning has sparked ethical debates about duplicating human beings.
The other dramatic element, of course, has to do with what it does to our conception of ourselves as individuals, as unique personalities, and whether we think that in time there'll be copies of ourselves running around the streets in something like the way that we've been seeing in science fiction films all these years.
Other medical and ethical implications, cloning as a way to get perfect match donor organs. The embryos duplicated were a few abnormal cells that couldn't develop into humans. The man accused of masterminding the World Trade Center bombing is getting a luxurious prison cell. It will cost taxpayers $12,000 to build it. Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman will live in a 2-room jail suite complete with its own bathroom and conference room. Rahman requested a transfer from an upstate New York facility to a Manhattan prison to be closer to his lawyers while awaiting trial. Prison authorities cite security reasons for building the luxurious suite. In the world, exiled Haitian President Jean-Bertrand Aristide is refuting a CIA report that refers to him as mentally unstable. The exiled Haitian president was a guest at Congressman Joseph Kennedy's wedding yesterday. He posed with the wedding party. The CIA report says Aristide suffers manic depression. He is due to return to Haiti by next weekend under a UN-brokered agreement, but American officials say it's not likely that deadline will be met by the Haitian military now in power. Sanctions against Haiti are expected to continue until the Haitian military meets UN demands. Gasoline is in short supply there. 3 U.S. oil distributors in Haiti have stopped delivering gasoline to the local stations. The worldwide oil and arms embargo went into effect last Monday. At Fort Benning, Georgia, it was an emotional homecoming for soldiers returning from the embattled capital of Somalia. 70 troops from the 3rd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment arrived today. A total of 232 troops have returned to Fort Benning since Friday. Right now, it's time for First Weather. Here's Craig.
What a day, what a day.
It's a beautiful day.
What a weekend.
Yes.
Monday looks good, too. Surprised?
Yes, I am. I thought it was going to rain.
Yeah, usually when I come in on Sunday nights, say Monday, first part of the week, down the tubes. But we're going to hold off till Wednesday to give you that kind of a day. So let's take a look at what's going on as you're heading off to work to make the millions, as we do. And the rush hour, fair sky, a bit chilly, 49 degrees. Last night's low was 41. We should go to around 45 tonight. Around midday, mostly sunny, light breeze, mild, just a great fall day. 64 degrees can be expected. Then a few more clouds are going to move in as you're heading home, but nothing really to worry about. Partly cloudy and mild, 68 degrees can be expected. The problems will start popping in here probably for Tuesday afternoon. We'll get into those coming up shortly. We'll have the work week forecast as you head off to make those millions. Beth?
Thanks, Craig. From First Weather to First Sports, here's our traveling man, Lou Tilley. Good job in Toronto.
And trying to force a smile tonight.
Yeah.
Smile. At least they cooperated with the weather. We came back to sunny skies today anyway, because otherwise it was a pretty cloudy weekend. Just back from Toronto, where the Phillies closed in on the summit of baseball's highest peak, but Toronto plays King of the Hill and sent the Broad Street Bellies, as they called them, packing. And we're going to hear from the Phillies skipper in a few minutes as they come back to Philadelphia and take a long look at their short man in Sports Wrap coming up at 11:30. You don't want to miss that. The Eagles get a much-needed day off today, but still some great action from the NFL, and the Sixers and Washington Bullets both looking for their first preseason win. I'll have the full rundown coming up in the sports in just a few minutes, Beverly, and it is nice to be back.
Good. Wait till next year.
Yeah, I will.
Stay with us on the news tonight. When we come back, it's an emergency situation. Shaken baby syndrome is claiming the youngest lives. A complete report coming up. And our very own fashion plates strut their stuff for a good cause. But first, here's a look at tonight's winning lottery numbers. More news after this. The past few weeks, we have explored domestic violence. It's part of KYW3's public service campaign, Domestic Violence, A Call for Help. Tonight, we examine what the American Academy of Pediatrics now calls a serious form of child abuse, shaken baby syndrome. So far this year, it's claimed 5 young lives in Philadelphia. That's a sharp increase. KYW3's Pat Shiraki takes a closer look at shaken baby syndrome.
The sirens seem to wail a more pain-filled cry when the victim needing help is a child. They're defenseless to abuse, yet we've come to know them by name and atrocity. Sylvia Smith, starved to death. Mikey Larkin, healing from broken bones and cigarette burns. Marcia Reyes, drowned in a Delaware County creek. All young children, all victimized by their parents.
Attention, engine 19, medic 4.
And now more infants are at risk, too. Dr. Mark Joffe works emergency at St. Christopher's, and once or twice a month, the call is for a tiny child suffering from shaken baby syndrome.
There are children who suffer shaking-type injuries, who suffer permanent brain damage, and there are a few babies who die from shaking.
Shaken baby syndrome can be difficult to diagnose immediately. That's because oftentimes when a child is brought into an emergency room like here at St. Christopher's, there are no external signs of injury. That's because the trauma is internal. The baby's head is clearly visible on a CAT scan. Doctors look for blood.
What you can see is the skull, and this whiteness here is a sign that there's some bleeding inside the skull that's pushing down on the brain.
Doctors also look for bleeding behind the eyes. Many children recover, but others suffer permanent brain damage, all within a moment of a parent, a friend, or a guardian losing control.
Is shaken baby syndrome child abuse in your book, or is it ignorance?
I consider it a form of child abuse. I think sometimes child abuse results from a certain degree of ignorance, but clearly this is a severe injury that an adult or caretaker is inflicting on a young child.
If you find yourself becoming angry with a crying infant, put your child in a safe place and step back. Count to 10. Call another adult with experience in handling an infant to relieve your pressure. Simple awareness can prevent a tragedy. Pat Shiraki, the News Tonight.
A moving tribute today to the 9 Philadelphia area Marines who were killed by a massive Beirut bomb 10 years ago. Families, friends, and Marines came to Penn's Landing today to pay homage to the men who died sleeping in their barracks when a terrorist car bomb exploded. The 241 Marines were part of a UN peacekeeping force. 10 years later, their families still grieve.
I don't know what a feeling it is to walk in and see all these people here remembering our sons. I mean, they just, for this incident, it just could be passed aside, but it just warms me. I don't know how Josie feels. Just to see you people remembering them.
I don't understand why
this young men keep going the place for kill, and it's very, I don't understand. That's very difficult.
Yesterday, national memorial services were held in Arlington, Virginia, and at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Brave Marines and their families. Coming up next, Craig Weber with the 5-day forecast, and in sports, the 49ers provide a San Francisco treat. It's rice all around. Lou Tilley has the highlights, scores, and more coming up. Time for the complete weather forecast, including the 5-day outlook. Here's Craig. Sunny skies.
Oh, great. We had a great weekend. And really, tomorrow, we're going to see a pretty nice Monday as well. And we mentioned before, it's kind of strange, because usually after a nice weekend, we find Monday's kind of rainy. But we're going to find a pretty nice one. 48 degrees up towards the Poconos. A few clouds hither and about. Partly cloudy sky there in Allentown. Wilmington, mostly cloudy, 51. 53 northeast Philly, and mostly cloudy there as well. Along the coastline sections, Atlantic City, 50 degrees, and mostly cloudy as well. Independence Mall, Fifth and Market, partly cloudy sky as we speak, 54 degrees. And 54 on the humidity as well. South winds out of the south rather at 8, and the barometric pressure right now holding steady. Now here's the satellite picture, and here's this high. This one has given us a kick your heels kind of weekend, a dandy weekend. At any rate, it's still planted right over the top of us, and will remain at least for the next, let's say 10 to 12 hours, eventually moving towards the east. There's another front that's over the Great Lakes extending north and east, and because this high is not moving, that frontal boundary you see up there will come down into our neck of the woods. And it really won't do diddly, so to speak. We're going to see maybe some clouds, and there might be some isolated showers over the extreme northern sections of the state. As far as the whole week, we usually do this on Sunday nights. The upper air right now is in what we call a zonal flow. Weather just kind of moseys from west to east. Now, in the next 72 hours, as we check the upper air, we're going to see a dip in the upper air. With that in mind, cold air can come this far south now. Of course, warm air comes up from the south heading towards the north. And as it's slanted in this fashion here, it'll draw up moisture now from the Gulf and also from the Atlantic. So we're going to see moisture, starting to combine and come up into the mid-Atlantic states for the next, probably, let's say Wednesday. Probably Tuesday night we could start seeing some showers. And the 5-day rains as we look at those. Where it rains the next 5 days, this is where the heavy rains will be, all along the eastern seaboard. So, to do a little deducing, it looks like some of that mess will be coming into our neck of the woods, could produce some heavy rains. It's going to be dry right over the nation's belly button. And up over the northern plains, we're going to see moderate conditions there. All right. As far as temperatures for tonight, we're going to see probably temperatures in the 40s in our area. 50s now tomorrow north of this front, and this front will be right to the north of us. We'll be in the south side picking up 60s, and we'll see the sun out. Should be a pretty nice time. We'll see some rain, of course, coming up from the south and from the west probably for Wednesday. For lows tonight, generally in the 40s all along our area throughout the northeast. We'll see 50s down over the Carolinas. And the forecast, fair sky, a bit cool. Southwest winds tonight at around temperature of 45, which is up around 4 degrees from last night. So for tomorrow, we're going to see a few clouds in the sky, 69. Enjoy the day. Tuesday afternoon, we'll start seeing some showers. It'll start clouding up Tuesday morning. Wednesday and Thursday, gee, there could be washouts and cool days as well. Then 57 for Friday, but at least we'll see the sun again, right? Have a good, safe week. Here's Bev.
Thank you, Craig. Lou Tilley just arrived in the studio. Sports is coming up next. We'll be right back after these messages. Time now for the complete sports picture. Here again is Lou Tilley. Lots of criticism of Jim Fregosi. What do you think, Ann? What do you think about Stottlemyre's comment?
Stottlemyre, he distinguished himself about as well as a guy named Bert Hooton with the Dodgers in the '77 playoffs, which is to say not at all. So he didn't back it up on the mound, but he did get the trophy. As far as last night is concerned, I think I'm among a lot of people in Philadelphia that still wonder why you have to go with Mitch just because he did it for you in July. And by the way, that is the topic of our lead story in Sports Wrap tonight. We take a real in-depth look about what that was all about last night. Now, what's happening right now, and these are just aftershocks to the moment, these are just reminders that it really did end last night. The Phillies waited until this afternoon to return, and not a huge crowd here in Philadelphia, just a couple of hundred. Terry Mulholland, Dave Hollins, and John Kruk among those departing and coming back to Philly today. Darren Dalton and Mitch Williams, by the way, flew from Toronto to other destinations instead. And Jim Fregosi then spoke for the team today.
It's been a great year. I couldn't be prouder of this bunch of guys. They gave everything they had. We came up a little short. Let's improve on that next year. Thanks for coming out.
To the winners, though, the spoils up in Toronto today. You know, I was up working all night, left at 5:30 this morning, Bev, and when I did, they were still in the streets partying from last night. And here they were back celebrating in the daylight again today in the Sky Dome, where the parade ended with the World Series trophy residing north of the border for a second year in a row. We take a long, hard look at the Phil's finale in the Sports Wrap just ahead. The football now, and the Eagles give us that time allowance as they take another bye week, another week off. We'll talk football with Daily Newsman Ray Didinger coming up in the wrap. Here's a brief look at what happened today. The Cards were the only team from the East to play today. They drew the Niners, and not their lucky number. Steve Young threw a pair of TDs to Jerry Rice, including this from 8 yards, as the Niners got out to a 28-0 lead and then hung on to win 28-14 despite a couple of late Cardinal touchdowns. Detroit got a late field goal to beat the Rams 16-13. Atlanta with the upset of the day, 26-15. You'll see highlights from all these games coming up. Green Bay beat Tampa Bay 37-14. Favre with 4 TD passes to Sterling Sharp. Buffalo wins the Battle of New York 19-10 over the Jets. And it's Cleveland, the late touchdown on a punt return by Eric Metcalf to beat Pittsburgh. Elsewhere, Miami tonight, very impressive without Marino, and Scott Mitchell leading a 41-27 win. Houston had no trouble with the Bengals, 28-12, and Seattle, as you might expect, a ho-hum affair, 10-9 over New England. Sports Wrap, as we said just ahead, we take a wild look at the wild thing and the wild finish to the series last night. Ray Didinger's thought on that, the Eagles and football, and the 2-minute drill, all coming up on the Sports Wrap in just a couple of minutes. The Flyers are out of here, out west. They'll pick it up again tomorrow night. And it's about time we turn some of our attention back to the Flyers with the Phillies' finis for the year. Here's what's happening on ice tonight. The New York Rangers trying to snap a 3-game losing streak. Greg Gilbert to Issa Tikkanen finds the net, breaking a 2-2 tie early in the third. Mike Richter had 23 saves as the Rangers hand the Kings just their second loss in 9 games. Rangers over L.A., 3-2 was the final. Elsewhere, Washington wins at Edmonton on this night. It took overtime to do it. 3-2 was the final. We wrap it up with the Sixers, who are taking on the Washington Bullets down in Alabama, a battle of the frequently beaten in this preseason, both looking for their first win of the exhibition year. Some good signs, though, for Sixer coach Fred Carter. Sean Bradley showing some flashes. Pretty move here inside the paint for the easy 2. But the Bullets' top pick, Albert Shaney, matching him shot for shot. At last word, it was Sixers on top by 97-95 with about 50 seconds left. So that's the sports to this moment, and more on the Phillies, of course. It's our subject of our whole first block, and the Sports Wrap coming up next time.
A lot of people still in shock.
You bet there are, yeah.
Thanks, Lou. Our last word tonight is fashion. Passion for a good cause, and some familiar faces as well. KYW3's Newsday anchors, Pat Shiraki, Tom LeMaine, took to the runway in high style for the 7th annual Celebrity Fashion Show at the Adams Mark Hotel. KYW3's Trudy Haynes, totally elegant. And anchorman Bruce Hamilton really stocking it to him. Robin McIntosh traded in his Macintosh for this leather coat. Barbara Monaco and Craig Weber rounded out the KYW3 cast. The show benefits the Philadelphia Elwyn Center. It helps train mentally and physically disabled youngsters and adults. Well done. And that's the news tonight. I'm Beverly Williams, Tom LeMaine, Pat Shiraki, and Howard Eskin. Get your morning going with Newsday starting at 5:30. For Lou, Craig, the entire News Tonight team, stay tuned for Sports Wrap and have a terrific week.
This is a KYW3 Sports presentation.
Hello again, I'm Lou Tilley. This is the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. And even with the Eagles taking this day off, we have a lot to talk about, a lot of catching up to do. I'm just back from 3 weeks on the road with the Phillies. I had hoped to be up in Toronto tonight, but the wild ride is over. And am I ever jet lagged? Not from the plane travel, actually, but from the emotional roller coaster that we've just been through, all of us, just from watching. It ended in the cruelest of fashion for the fans and players alike, with many questions, mostly about the manager and his closer. The case is far from closed. Let me say right up front that Mitch Williams takes the heat up front in the locker room afterwards.
Well, we got here and I let us down. So, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for nobody. I just didn't get it done.
What do you reflect on now, what you can take out of this?
No, obviously what I take out of it is a loss. The only thing that's different about it is I managed to lose 2 games in the World Series.
Season's over.
And then a concerned teammate, Terry Mulholland, pulled the wild-eyed reliever away to a private players' meeting before this wild bunch came apart at the seams in the aftermath of the bitter defeat. They stood behind him with a familiar defense.
We would not be here without Mitch, and I told him that after the game. You have nothing to hang your head about. That guy gets paid to hit, and he came on top this time. You got to tip your hat to him.
You know, we're going to rally behind Mitch and let him know how much we believe in him, and because he had a great season this year, and you know, we expect big things out of him next year, and we'll go back at it again.
But someday, perhaps, they too might second-guess the wisdom of that century-old baseball theory that the manager has apparently studied that says in sum, "I'll dance with the girl that brung me."
Well, Mitch Williams has been our closer all year. I'm not going to change things. He's the guy that's done it for us. I just told him a few minutes ago that he's the one that got us this far, and I'm not going to change.
The problem with the dance metaphor, though, you probably don't pay the girl $3 million to dance with you, to dance well, to not step on your feet, to not break your ankle, to not break your heart. Fergosi's quest for fairness to his players ignores the fact that 24 others suffered for Mitch's second chance.
You, me, 5 million others in the Delaware Valley watched it unfold. Watched the relief somehow put goose eggs up there 3 innings in a row. But to the ninth, very few healthy arms left. And Mitch Williams had his chance for redemption.
I felt great. Coming into the game, I felt really good. I didn't throw strikes to Henderson, which was, I mean, what can I do there? I didn't throw him strikes. I can't put him back at the plate. I got to try and get the next guys. I got the next guy. Molitor hit a pretty good pitch into center field. And then I made a bad pitch to Carter.
Where is it written that in the sport of baseball you use the same strategies in October because they were effective in July, when Williams' fastball still had bite? By this World Series, hitters had to struggle to slow their swings enough to keep the ball in play. This is unlike any other sport. In football, Randall Cunningham took a seat after 16 regular season games when his team was trailing in the playoffs. In last summer's NBA Finals, veteran All-Star Kevin Johnson was benched in favor of an aging Danny Ainge and Frank Johnson. But Fergosi stuck with Mitch Williams to lose Game 4 and Game 6 in the most bitter of ways.
We would not be here without Mitch Williams, and that's bottom line to that.
Mitch Williams is here ever destined to own a place in the Philadelphia version of Webster's dictionary, right next to yo, as in, yo, did you see him blow that game? Fill in the sport. He pulled a Mitch Williams, or in time, he really Mitched it. But not from the Phillies, at least not now.
You know, the thing that upsets me is, and I'll say it now, I'm glad we're on Philly TV, the few guys or, you know, whoever they were, you know, thought they were being cool or tough. A few death threats they gave Mitch back in Philadelphia, you know. I don't know if they think they're helping us or what, but they hurt us, you know. The guy didn't sleep a whole night. He missed a workout yesterday, and he slept 20-some hours, you know, 22 hours making up for yesterday. And I don't think he was feeling right today. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I saw how it affected Mitch. You know, he didn't sleep the whole night. He had police around his house and, you know, that kind of stuff. You don't know about it. You don't think it happens in a game in baseball, and then you get in the World Series and see it happen. And you know, it's just not right.
In the end, it was the Phillies pitching in general. Take away Schilling's gem, and the Blue Jays scored 8, 4, 10, 15, and 6, hitting .363 as a team, and close to .500 when you factor in the walks. The juggled rotation featuring the left-handed starters flopped. Mulholland and Jackson allowed 17 runs in 19 innings over 3 starts. Besides Schilling, only Roger Mason distinguished himself, and speaking of which...
Did you feel like you had much left?
Yeah, I think I could have gone more, but, you know, Jim's used the bullpen the same way all year. You know, he's had success doing that all year long, and, you know, the 6th game of the World Series is not the right time to all of a sudden change the way you've managed.
Baseball dogma again. An atrocious David West was called in to pitch lefty to Allrood behind Mason. But if you're following that philosophy, why Mitch, the lefty, and not Tommy Green, to pitch to Molitor and Carter in the 9th? All of which probably left you teary-eyed in the end. And I was surprised to find the always emotional Bill Giles moving easily through the locker room afterwards, very much in check, and summing things up like this.
To be honest about it, we talent-wise and money-wise didn't match up to either the Braves or the Toronto club, and we were able to beat the Braves and to go to, you know, this tough loss today, and so I'm very, very proud. I've never been more proud of a team than I have in my life than this team.
The Phils of '93, so brilliant, so painful, but then isn't that why we're all hooked? And still, I know I rediscovered baseball this year, and even with the excruciating way it ended, you have to feel it's not quite over yet and that the future is still bright where it comes to baseball in this town. More sports coming up on the Sports Wrap, and this is what's ahead right now. First of all, from the football wars, coming up later, and stick around for this from the baseball. The Blue Jays have their say.
I got one message for the mayor of Philly.
Todd Stottlemyre with a high, hard one from Mayor Ed Rendell. And the play-by-play on this day in pro football. The 2-minute drill is coming up in about 2 minutes. We'll be right back.
Touchdown for the Green Bay Packers. Sterling Sharp.
Welcome back. The Eagles take another Sunday off on this day, along with most of the NFC East, but not all. Here's what happened today, machine gun style. Start the clock. It's our 2-minute drill. First from the NFC, Phoenix at San Francisco, where the Cards were looking to fatten up their 2-4 record, but the 49ers on a diet of Rice. Jerry Rice with a pair of TDs, including this from 8 yards. The only upset in this game happened in the parking lot as the Niners set the table, 28-14 over Phoenix. Atlanta goes to New Orleans, and Bobby Hebert back at work in the Superdome. Hey, don't those fans love him? But Hebert had the last laugh. He tossed 2 TD passes, this 5-yarder to Andre Rison, as the Falcons upset the Saints 26-15. Detroit at the Rams, and quarterback Jim Everett yanked. Replaced by T.J. Rubley, who comes back from a 13-0 deficit to tie it with this to Ernie Jones. But they missed the extra point, and Jason Hansen's kick for Detroit, his 3rd of the day, wins it for the Lions 16-13. Battle of the Bays. Green Bay at Tampa Bay. And Packer quarterback Brent Favre had quite a day. He brought Sterling Sharp along, and it's a good thing. They connect 4 times for touchdowns as Green Bay wins it 37-14. Crossing over to the AFC, in New York, Bruce Coslet's Jets. He signals the play in from the sidelines, but apparently Boomer misunderstood and fires it to the Bills' Darryl Talley. And he's off and running 61 yards for the Buffalo touchdown. The Bills handle the Jets. 19-10 is the final. Great game, Pittsburgh at Cleveland for the division lead in the Central. Steeler coach Bill Cowher trying to hold on late. He did not count on this. Eric Metcalf had already returned 1 punt, 91 yards for a score. With 2:05 to go, he's at it again. This one of the great plays of the day. He goes 75 yards for another score, the winner, as the Browns come back late for the 28-23 win and the lead in the Central. Cincinnati at Houston, and Oiler fans might be a little gassed up, but not Warren Moon, who throws for 2 touchdowns. This a 9-yarder to Gary Wellman as the Oilers win it 28-12. New England at Seattle, and Bill Parcells watches a field goal contest for 59 minutes, 35 seconds. The only score here, 25 seconds left as Meyer hooks up with Blades for the winner. Seattle on top, 10-9. Now, the Dolphins tonight don't miss a beat without Dan Marino. They thumped the Colts 41-27 behind Scott Mitchell tonight. Well, Ray Didinger, Pro Football's traveling troubadour of insight, in Friday's Daily News, he picked the Falcons' upset of the Saints, and with that as credential, is there a dominant team in the NFL right now?
No, there really isn't. Normally at this time of the year, we're looking around trying to decide which is the dominant team in each conference, which are the teams that are going to go to the Super Bowl. I think the question right now is there any good team out there in the National Football League right now? You know, you look around, and the New York Jets have half the package. They're number 1 in offense, but they're 18th in defense, and they've blown second-half leads in each of their last 3 games. It looks like that collapse against the Eagles really turned their season around. And they say defense wins in the NFL, so Minnesota should be in good shape, right? Not with the 24th ranked offense. The Vikings have scored 5 touchdowns, which is the fewest in the NFL. Denver's scoring lots of points behind John Elway, but their defense can't stop anyone, especially through the air. And Pittsburgh's playing great defense, but they too have a glaring weakness. It comes on special teams, where their kick coverage has been the worst in the league, and it really cost them today when Cleveland's Eric Metcalf brought back 2 punts for touchdowns to win this game at the dog pound and stake out first place for the Cleveland Browns.
Now, Saints started off so well, as they have in the past, but again, they start to fade. But of course, they've had some problems defensively.
They've lost 10 regulars on offense and defense with injuries, and they've lost Sam Mills, who's their signal caller on defense, inside linebacker, and their best run player. And in each of the last 4 games, they've had at least one opponent rush for over 100 yards, which is very uncharacteristic. So after a 5-0 start, they've now lost 2 in a row, and they're back with the pack.
So who do you look for to come out of this thing right now in the AFC anyway?
Well, in the AFC, the ironic part about it is the team that looks the best and the team, if you had to say, was the most likely to go to the Super Bowl, scary as that thought might be, it's the Buffalo Bills. That's right, the team that's lost the last 3 Super Bowls, and the team that we least want to see back in the Super Bowl is playing the best. They're number 1 in giveaway takeaway, and as we all know, those teams rise to the top.
So are we going to recue the tape? Is it going to be Dallas from this league again? I don't see anybody else in there from the NFC.
Well, right now the NFC, the team that's playing the best is the Dallas Cowboys, and they're the team we're going to be seeing here next, a week from today.
And that's what we're going to be talking about next as well. We're going to go to another break on the Sports Wrap and queue up another stack of tapes. We're going to focus on the Eagles. When we come back, they have an off week, but they better be at work. They'll be our lead again next Sunday after they finish locking horns with the Cowboys at the Vet. And the Highlight Zone is coming up. Mostly football, mostly for fun. Still ahead on the Sports Wrap before we're done. Yeah, here's today's honor roll. The 100-yard rushers for the day. Eric Pigram of Atlanta, 132 in their win. Thurman Thomas of the Bills, 117. They won. The Rams' Jerome Bettis with 113. And Darrell Thompson of the Pack checks into the lineup and checks in with 105 yards. And in the late game, the Dolphins' Mark Higgs rushed for 114 yards, a key in their 41-27 win. 300-yard passers today. Neil O'Donnell of the Steelers leads them all with 355 in the loss at the dog pound today. And the Cardinals' Steve Berline, most of that in the mop-up role at garbage time, well after the issue was decided, trailing 28-0 in Atlanta, or rather in San Francisco. He came back with 2 late touchdown tosses and 335 yards on the day. Meanwhile, the Eagles have a date with Dallas next week down at the Vet. Both teams at 4-2. You would think this would be a clash of the Titans, but on paper, it looks like a mismatch. Game time has been changed to 4 p.m. Not too many people give the Birds much of a chance on this one. Ray Didinger surprised me, as I said, with his pick of the Falcons over the Saints today. How do you see the Eagles and Cowboys shake up this time around? A lot different than a year ago, I know that.
Yeah, the Cowboys are a team that are really hitting their stride. They lost their first 2 games this season while Emmitt Smith was holding out. We all remember that. But since he's returned, the Dallas Cowboys have been quite simply the best team in the league. Once again, they're showing the balance that took them to the top last season. They're second in the league in offense and a rapidly improving 6th on defense. Check these numbers. The Cowboy defense has allowed only 2 touchdowns in the last 13 quarters, and they have 7 takeaways in their last 2 games. On offense, yes, it helps to have Emmitt Smith back, but it really has been the Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin show. Aikman leads the league in passing, and Irvin leads all receivers with 416 catches for over 700 yards. To put those numbers in perspective, if Irvin were to continue at that pace, he would finish the season with 123 catches for 1,899 yards, which would smash all the known records in both the United States and Canada. It's hard for me to see how the Eagles can defend this team in its current condition, and Emmitt Smith has averaged over 140 yards rushing his last 2 games against the Eagles, and the Cowboys have a guaranteed mismatch with Irvin and Alvin Harper, both of whom are 6'3", taking turns working against the Eagles' 5'7" cornerback Mark McMillan. This could be a long day for the Eagles.
I'm not sure if I want to come to work next Sunday after listening to that. How do the Eagles do it on defense? I know Bud Carson has made it happen with his smoke and mirrors defense, but now that defensive line, when I turned on the TV from Toronto last week, I hardly recognized the guys who were in there. There were numbers that I didn't even see in preseason camp. How can they get it done?
It's going to be very difficult. I think you've seen that Andy Harmon has played some inside, he's played some outside. Bud, the smoke and mirrors analogy is a pretty good one. They're going to have to blitz a lot. They're going to have to use their linebackers and safeties and run support. That may be the only way you can try and keep Emmitt Smith in check. The only problem is if you begin cheating that kind of concentration at the line of scrimmage, it leaves you way open for play-action passes to the Harpers and the Irvins. As I said, if Bud Carson can keep this one close, he will indeed be the master.
I know this has always been a key for me when I watch the Eagles defense. When I see Eric Allen making a lot of tackles, I know they're in trouble because that's not his primary function out there.
And remember, this team is really having trouble rushing the passer. This is not an Eagles defense that we remember from the past. They have the fewest sacks in football, and if you can't get pressure on Troy Aikman, I don't know that you can beat the Dallas Cowboys.
This is what confuses me. When I see Randall go down and Brister take over, I figure, hey, they still have a pretty solid offensive line, and their running backs, which we were also excited about in preseason, they're going to turn into a running team, keep the scores down, keep the score close. What happened to that?
I'm kind of at a loss to explain that. I thought in the Bears game and the Giants game, they started off with a pretty good game plan and pretty good concentration. They ran the ball well. They had a big time of possession advantage. I thought they had kept the games close. The other teams got a bit of a lead, and I thought the play calling began to panic a little bit. I thought they opened it up way too soon. They got into situations where they were throwing the ball more than they should. I really think it's critical against the Cowboys, particularly since their run defense is a little weaker than their pass defense right now, that they run the ball, stay with the running game, try and shorten the game, and just keep it close and hope that they can win it with a break in the fourth quarter. If they open it up, I think they're really, really tempting fate here.
Now, does the function of the running game change any with the fact that it looks like Ken O'Brien will be back there? I mean, the guy's almost as old as me.
His knees are a little bit better than yours.
Thank you very much, yes.
But I think they're going to have to scale things down a little bit for O'Brien for the simple fact that Brister and Cunningham are both guys that are capable of making some plays outside the pocket.
Right.
O'Brien never has been that kind of player. He had a few mobility type of plays that he made against the Giants, surprising in that respect. But I think to be effective, he's going to have to be a pocket passer, and it's going to all have to work off the run. If they can run the ball and get him into some good short yardage situations where he can play action, he might be able to make some plays because he's smart and he still has a good, strong arm. The comparisons, people are trying to compare him to Pat Ryan. He's a much more productive player now than Pat Ryan was when he came in, but he's going to need help to get this team over the hump.
Ray Didinger, nice to see you again, and you can read him, of course, in the Daily News, and sometimes hear him on WIP Sports Talk, All Sports Radio. Thanks for joining us tonight for a little talk with our fans. Time for a break right now. We'll be back with more on the Sports Wrap, the Highlight Zone, and a final word. A final word from Toronto pitcher Todd Stottlemyre for the mayor of Philadelphia. Let's just say the Jays didn't win it with class, and I'll explain later. Here I was getting all down about the Phillies losing in the World Series, and look at this. The Sixers beat the Bullets 105-103 in preseason basketball tonight down in Mobile, Alabama, their first win of the preseason. See that? There is life. There's always a silver lining. Here it is. Time to wind down with the ups and downs of life in the National Football League on this Sunday night. We call it the Highlight Zone. The Steelers in Cleveland today trying to get pumped up against the division rival Browns. They pack a Vinny sandwich for the trip home. To the Meadowlands, where the Bills and Jets put their heads together. I love that sound. The Colts at Miami. Remember, Keith Byers used to run for the Eagles and throw too. And he scored a touchdown to Fryer tonight. You got to take your hats off to Miami. In fact, they'll do it for you if you want. The Highlight Zone for this week, but nothing can beat this. It's tonight's parting shot, and it comes from the Victors. Now, I don't know if Blue Jay pitcher Todd Stottlemyre spent the night on Yonge Street himself with the rest of the 200,000 or so who turned the town upside down last night. In fact, they were still out there when I left my hotel for the plane at 5:45 this morning, those crazy Canadians. But something was buzzing around his bonnet. He was still miffed that our mayor made a crack about his pitching in the playoffs. Stottlemyre taking a parting shot at their rally today.
I got one message for the mayor of Philly, and I hope you're out there looking. You can kiss my ass.
Hey, what's that all about? I guarantee you right now, Ed Rendell's going to make darn sure that guy pays his 3 games worth the Philadelphia wage tax. Talk, not action. In Game 4, Stottlemyre just about made us forget about Bert Hooton. These things have a way of coming around again, and I hope so. Until we come around again, until next week's soap opera of sports, I'm Lou Tilley, and that's a wrap for the Sports Wrap. Good night, everybody.